Good morning and welcome to another JM Tips, and this is Rick M talking to you. Hope you're doing great on this wonderful morning. It's a Friday here and beautiful and sunny, so I'm loving life. You can see the background pics, tell I'm a total geek. and also see part of one of the shelves I got my books on. So I hope I entertain you guys sitting in this place, but it seems like the best place to tape my stuff. So today I'm going to spend some time talking a little bit about skills and feats. And again, I'm not going to dive into one system or the other. I know some of you would love me to dive deep into Pathfinder or D&D or other systems. The nice thing is a lot of these skills and feats are transferable system to system, which means, the dice you roll is going to vary a little bit. Most of them use a D20 based type of roll. Some will use D10s, D12s, D6s. At the end of the day, what you're doing with these type of things is determining the success or failure that a PC, a player character, or an NPC has to a certain maneuver or situation they're trying to do. So, just don't mind the Mickey Mouse entertainment for the little one. So what you're looking at is, can a character succeed at what they're trying to do, or an NPC? They're trying to do something unique or special. So let's be really outrageous. A parkour up a wall where they grab the side of it and then throw themselves over onto the top of a building. And say it's a 3-story building. They're doing a parkour between two buildings. So what you, the GM, have to determine is, what is it going to take for these amazing player characters or NPCs to get up there and really do that amazing little roll? So, nice thing about most systems don't have a critical fail when you roll a 1. Though, sometimes if it doesn't meet the DC that you're trying to beat or difficulty class, they're going to fall. and it's not going to be pretty. But you can make it pretty funny. And that's the whole thing of taking the ouch out of it as a GM. So in this case, say you need to do a dexterity skill-based type of check. It could be like in Pathfinder, they use acrobatics. It may be a jump check in 5e, or a something like that, a climb check with a jump. What is the difficulty class? That's depending on how hard it is, okay? It can be something as simple as a very low roll. So say they're trying to jump over a 2-foot gap. It's a big drop, but it's a 2-foot gap. So you say, okay, and I'm going to use D&D and Pathfinder with the D20 based for the example, but convert it to whatever type of rolls you're using. In this case, I put a DC 10, okay, because, yeah, there's some difficulty, but they can make it if they really concentrate. And factors that factor in that you're going to give them minuses for: are they in the middle of a situation that's high stress? Are they being chased by something? Is it in direct combat where they're trying to avoid being hit by something while doing it? These all factor into the difficulty. So say, let's change it a little bit. Now it's a 5-foot gap and there's a creature chasing them. So I'm going to go DC 15 plus 3 because there's a creature coming after them. So in this case, a DC 18. Why would I do that? Well, because think about it. If a creature is hightailing it after you and you're more worried about dying, you're not concentrating on how well you're going to jump that gap. You're just going to jump that gap. And you're going to get a little reckless in doing it. So your difficulty is going to go up. Say it's an icy surface. Okay, now we're at DC 20 because, gee, you can slip and slide off that thing if you hit it wrong and you don't have spiked cleated shoes, and most people don't. If they do, then you can lower the DC. So equipment will help you to do that, and usually it'll tell you in most of the descriptions that this adds this to this. Most times trust your players' rolls, okay, unless they're just somewhat outrageous to where they roll a 2 and they're second level, and there's something that just doesn't make sense. Then you can dig in with them and go, okay, are you sure you added that right? You don't want to take away and necessarily challenge them, but you want to make sure they are adding everything up correct so that they do things right. But remember, in all these types of skills, you don't want to necessarily penalize the player, but if they are skilled in it, you do want to reward them because it means they can do it a lot better. Another one that's real big is survival. Survival helps you out in all situations where you are trying to go into harsh environments and live. Okay, you can call it different things, and they may call it different in your system. So Numenera will call it maybe something different. And again, Monty, and and crew. God, I'm sorry. I am so sorry, Shanna. I blanked on your name for a minute. Um, Once I get your system, I'll be able to add a little more here into it. I know in the D6 systems they'll have some different things. It'll be under skill-based type of stuff, and that's fine. It's usually under a wisdom because it's how wise are you to survive in that environment. So most of your skills are tied back to a wisdom. And usually, a lot of times, people will add ranks in there. So either when you go up a level, you get some ranks to spend, or you just automatically get certain things in the system that will up your ranks. I like to do something unique, and you GMs may want to take this into account. If the players take time to study under someone for a couple weeks to a month, I add a permanent modifier. And the reason I do is because it's like anything else. If you went and took a survival course, you're going to be a lot smarter in it. And you don't have to necessarily have a level to take that course. And sometimes the systems are rigid in that way. So give yourself a little flexibility. Like I had players when I was running Carrying Crown that were doing knowledge learning. And they went into one of the libraries in Ustalav, and they learned. They spent days. They paid for it and everything else. So I gave them some increased modifiers. I said, every week you spend in there, you're going to get a +1 because you're focused right on that one thing, learning that. And so, I do award that because I think, like anything else, you can learn outside of experience. And sometimes the systems are way rigid in that. Now, don't go outrageous, okay? If your players are going to want to spend 3 months and just get plus whatever, then don't do it. I give it a one-time. And I say it's a one-time modifier to that particular knowledge or that ability. Or they get to add one new spell they normally wouldn't get to get per day that they can do it. So there's some certain things I can do to spice it up. But remember certain things. There's also something that in a lot of the systems they have called Take 10. And Take 10 will allow you to step out of the situation and go slowly and really do it well. Now, I will give one exception to a Take 10 or a Take 20, like we have in Pathfinder. If there's a creature trying to kill you, you don't get to take a Take 10. I'm sorry. If it is facing you and wants to eat you, you don't get to take 10. That's not even in the realm of reality. And if you allow that as a GM, that's up to you, but it's kind of unrealistic to the level of just really unrealistic. I'm all about play and having fun. But sometimes you got to call it and say, all right, guys, that just doesn't make any sense at all. Now, another exception to that. If somebody else is facing being eaten and you're the one trying to do something else off to the side of that combat, then you can take 10. As long as you got enough time and it doesn't kill that other player and come after you, and then you lose that Take 10. So just keep those things in mind. Feats. Let me say this about feats. You got to understand, does the feat, what is the round cost in a feat? Okay, is it a swift action, which means something you can do, it doesn't cost you anything. It's just automatic. You can do it. Is it a standard action? Now, in a standard round for most systems, you have a movement, you have an attack, and it's split up that way. And then you have your full round action. What does it cost? Perfect example, some of the combat feats, you got to know what it costs because your players, and I love them, God bless them, but they don't always stay with those things. And forgive my little reference, you can say whatever, infinity bless them or whatever. It's meant more as a bless your soul, bless your heart, kind of a Texas phrase where it says you dumb, yeah. Basically, they're good-hearted people, but they don't know the systems all the time. And even the ones that do tend to take advantage of it sometimes and like to throw one over on the GM. And again, when you get that kind of player, just recognize who they are and just quietly keep an eye. Not there to make their life miserable, but you do want to say, hey, Kate, you're doing that. I know it costs this. How are you doing that? I'm just trying to work the math in my head. And it's a nice way of calling them on the carpet without really embarrassing them. So, just try to know some of the basic feats, especially combat ones. Try to know what they cost. And if you want to make a little table for yourself that says full round action, standard action, swift action, write them out there so you can put them up on your shield. Tack it to your shield that you put up around you. And that way you've got it there so you can just quickly glance at it and make sure what they're using feat-wise makes sense. Unfortunately, with Pathfinder, and I love it for this reason at the same time, we got so many feats that it's hard to keep up with. So there's a new one every day. And, for us, keeping track of that kind of stuff, that's really important. We'll have a little script there that we're going to have to go paging through, but is what it is, part of being a GM. So when you're looking at skills and feats, apply them to situations. Apply them to different things. If they got to disarm a trap, if they got to disarm an alarm system, if they got to disarm a security system. A lot of the books will tell you. A lot of your game master guides will tell you what that is. But if it's something out of the ordinary, you can up the difficulty class, especially if the players would easily pass it every time. You want to give them some challenge. In some cases, it's going to be impossible. That's just the reality of it. They're walking into a situation that they're not meant to disarm that. And they're going to get whacked, and that's just what it is. And, as a GM, you're not trying to kill them, but some situations they're going to step into. They're going to die, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you don't want to kill their player character, but it happens. And you kind of laugh about it, chuckle a little bit, pat them on the shoulder and say, I'm sorry. It's just the nature of the beast on that one. And empathize with them, Really look at those type of things and include them in there. And you don't have to be an expert with them, but just realize, think about it. If it doesn't make sense of where to put it, think about, okay, what physical attribute would I need to overcome that if I was in real life? And if you apply that there, it'll apply to what skill you're going to put it under or what ability score you're going to put it under. If they don't have any ranks in anything or any skill in it, then just use their raw intelligence, wisdom, charisma, whatever the ability score is. Use that raw ability to give them the bonuses that they're going to get on a roll for that. So keep that in mind. I hope it helps a little bit. Again, I'm not delving deep into things, but I'm trying to get you to think as a GM common sense so you're not overwhelmed. And that's the real key. Don't get overwhelmed. You'll figure out something, and if you nothing else, take a stab at it. The worst case, your player corrects you, and you learn. It's part of the process, and enjoy it. Like we always say, the number one thing of playing a game is enjoy it. Make sure as a GM you are enjoying what you're doing. All right? Thanks until next time. We'll talk to you then.